Hey everybody, it's October, and that means it's Cybersecurity Month. Would you believe that it's now in its 17th year? National Cybersecurity Awareness Month is raising awareness about the importance of cybersecurity across our nation, ensuring that all Americans have the resources that they need to be safer and even more secure online. And here at the Payments Professor, well, we want to make sure it is also helping to protect your money. That's right. We're going to be giving you some tips, hints, and tricks this month on what you can do to protect yourself online and protect your money. In fact, this year's theme for Cybersecurity Month is Do Your Part, Be Cyber Smart. Last week, we posted a Payments Professor flashback on the different types of phishing.
There's another type of phishing and it's dangerous.
This week, we're going to continue our recognition of Cybersecurity Month, but we're going to mention a podcast that the Payments Professor recorded with Matt Luzadder. He's with Kelly, Dyer & Warren, LLP. Matt is an attorney, but he's one of those guys that really knows his stuff when it comes to cybersecurity. Wait, are you ready to learn more? Well then stay tuned. I met Matt through Not Just Payment Innovation Alliance. Great organization. I recommend all in the world of electronic payments get out there, join, all right? It's not just for banks or credit unions either. Obviously, we have an attorney that's part of it. So anybody can join it that's part of the world of electronic payments, except for you bad guys. We don't want you in there. The Payments Innovation Alliance has several task forces, and one of the task force even recently released a COVID-19 Best Fraud Prevention and Cybersecurity Practices. And that is something that's been created to be able to help the world of cybersecurity and to aid payments professionals. But let's go ahead and get back to Matt and the podcast. With Matt, what did we discuss? Well, we had a great discussion on ransomware. We went over things like, well, what is ransomware? And having policies and procedures. And making sure, this was quote Matt, great quote from the podcast, policies and procedures are not a set it up and forget it. You're gonna have to keep up with them. Now Matt did share what ransomware is. It's the taking away of your files, your data, and then having to meet whatever the goals are of the attacker. Usually it's having to pay the ransom, right? Because some attackers, they do this for money, and that's all. Then there is also the dual function ransomware. If you don't pay the ransom, then we're gonna make your data public. It's kind of like extortion, right? The after effect of this is that you then have public exposure, and then you have to deal with the regulators and the customer backlash. Matt also mentioned that there is also destructive ransomware and state-led groups that are out there to destroy or just lock up data in systems. Matt even shared there is not a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to dealing with ransomware. That's right, no one-size-fits-all. I highly recommend checking out Matt Luzadder and following him even on LinkedIn. He's got his own podcast as well. And the podcast episode on ransomware is out there for you to be able to listen to. And if you listen in, you'll hear a little bit about the first ransomware attack. And I need to go ahead and add some clarification to what I put into the recording. This one's on me. When it comes to that first ransomware attack, well, the actual first known attack was initiated in 1989 by Joseph Pop, a PhD and an AIDS researcher. He carried out the attack by distributing 20,000 floppy disks to AIDS researchers spanning more than 90 countries, claiming that the disk contained a program that analyzed an individual's risk of acquiring AIDS through the use of a questionnaire. However, that disk also contained a malware program that initially remained dormant in computers, only activating after a computer was powered on 90 times. After that 90th start threshold was reached, the malware displayed a message demanding a payment of $189 and another $378 for a software lease. Wow! Pretty cool in some ways. That ransomware attack became known as the Age Trojan or the PC Cyber. I think it's pretty cool. It was done on floppy disk. I say in the podcast it was through a game, but it wasn't. Now, in more recent news related to ransomware, there's been an advisory from the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, that states companies that facilitate ransomware payments to cyber actors on behalf of victims, including financial institutions, cyber insurance firms, and companies involved in digital forensics and incident response, not only encourage future ransomware payment demands, but also may risk violating OFAC regulations. Wait, what? You mean if you pay the ransom, you're going to get in trouble for paying the ransom to get your stuff back? That's kind of what it says. See, the Treasury states that businesses who pay the sanctioned cybercrime organizations without first receiving a special dispensation or license could actually face up to $20 million in fines. Wow. You know, that kind of brings up the question, just how much is your data worth? Can you imagine paying the fraudsters, then turning around and having to pay the government an additional $20 million? Again, how much is your data worth? Well, protect it to begin with, then you don't have to worry about having to pay any of these. All right, but let's get on. We also discussed in the podcast how ransoms are paid. And one of the other highlights of this podcast was how Matt mentioned if you are in a ransomware deal, what you should be doing. There's a lot to it. Again, I highly recommend checking out Matt and the podcast episode so that you can learn more about ransomware. And that podcast, well, it's the Payments Podium, and it's available anywhere you get your podcasts. And if by chance there's a topic you're looking for on electronic payments, you can check out our YouTube page and subscribe while you're there. Please do, I'd appreciate the followers. Also, you can go to the Payments Professor website where we have full courses on multiple electronic payments topics. And if there's a course you'd like to see created, maybe a podcast episode you'd like to have, maybe you'd like to be on a podcast episode, well then email me, kevin@paymentsprofessor.com, or you can leave a comment, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn. We provide training that doesn't suck and isn't boring. Class dismissed.